All 535 members of Congress have been invited to attend tonight's State of the Union address. We have one who just recently took the oath of office to serve in the House, although he's been in the political arena for many years in his home state of Maryland.
So we welcome Representative Glenn Ivey of Maryland to Morning Rush right now. Representative Ivey, thank you so much for being here with us, getting up early this morning. It's going to be a long night, I presume. So let's talk a little bit about what we can expect. We're going to go right into the issue of police reform. That's important to you. So we have heard the family of Tyree Nichols will be at the State of the Union tonight, and you're also bringing a guest. Tell us who you're bringing and why.
Her name is Dawn Dalton. She has a son who was a survivor of police abuse and excessive force. But we're really reaching out, and there are many of us who are bringing guests, with similar sort of unfortunate circumstances. But we're really just trying to make the point that this is pervasive, it's gone on too long, and it really needs to stop. And we need to keep pushing to make changes here in Congress in particular. I think there's going to be a renewed push to get the George Floyd Act done. But I think we even have to go beyond that, including at the state and local levels.
And Congressman, as a practicing attorney, you have seen both sides of cases involving police killings. So what would you like to see done at the federal level? And is there any room for compromise with your Republican colleagues?
Yeah, Senator Cory Booker and Senator Tim Scott have been working together, including in the last Congress. But I think they're making renewed efforts now to try and move it forward. There's a variety of pieces of additional legislation. We've had some success with, getting body cameras, and steps like that, I think that have helped. But I think, addressing the qualified immunity issue is a big piece. And I also think we have to do things like data collection, which sounds mundane, but I think could really help to shine additional lights on figuring out what the problems are and how to fix them. And I personally have called yesterday. The CBC had made statements on the floor, and I made one, addressing the issue of these specialty units like the Scorpion unit in Memphis, but there are units like that across the country. I think we have to get rid of those either by legal ban, or police departments could take steps themselves, as in Memphis, just to get rid of them immediately. They're dangerous, and they lead to these sorts of results far too often, and they're not proven to have a particularly strong benefit on addressing crime.
So is that a topic that you're anticipating to hear about tonight? And what other focuses do you hope to hear from the President's State of the Union?
Well, I think the president will call for the passage of the George Floyd Act, and there might be some additional executive order steps that he can take. But I think it's on Congress to make the push right now to get the George Floyd Act done. I'm sure the president will address the economy. I think there have been a lot of positive signs. We've got lowest unemployment figures that came out on Friday. I think it's like a 50-plus year low. Manufacturing jobs are at 60-year highs. Inflation is still a problem, but it's moving in the right direction. And I think he'll talk about that. And then finally, I think he'll talk about the many provisions that were passed in the last Congress and explain to the public how those are going to start affecting their lives now. We had, just in Maryland, in Baltimore, the tunnel, there's going to be a $4 billion repair of that coming up. The president was there to announce that. There was a bridge connecting Kentucky and Ohio a few weeks ago. But the infrastructure bill, expanding internet access, I mean, there's a lot of things that got done in the last Congress that he's going to roll out, and he should.
Congressman, I want to get your thoughts on something that is, and pardon the pun, looming over this speech, and that is the Chinese balloon incident. Yesterday on the show, we heard from former State Department official David Tafuri, and he talked about the timing of the revelation of it being of the balloon discovering. I want to play that sound now.
It's very unfortunate for China in particular that this trip did not happen, because Secretary Blinken could have hopefully made some progress in terms of ironing out some issues between China and the U.S.
Now, you sit on the Committee on Homeland Security. What lingering questions do you have about this Chinese balloon and how the U.S. government handled the situation?
Well, I think it's important to, now that they've downed it, to gather the debris together and see what kind of devices might have been attached there and what sort of information it might have been gathering. But my understanding was the balloons probably weren't getting information much different than the satellites that China already has circulating the globe. And so I want to make sure we don't make this into something bigger than it is. And on top of that, I think the administration just announced that we're going to be opening more military bases. I believe there are 4 in the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the show of strength with respect to China is there. And I think our allies recognize that. It doesn't look like they're going to make more of this balloon incident than should be made.
And yesterday we also presented data on our show that only 39% of issues brought up in the State of the Union are actually addressed in legislation in the same year. You know, you're bringing some new blood into Congress this year. Do you think there's a way to actually change that? Is there a way to get that number higher?
Well, I hope so, but so far my Republican colleagues here in the House are not off to a great start. I think we saw the needed 15 rounds to pick a speaker, and the legislation they've been bringing to the floor so far is more about statements than actual action and making a difference in the American public's lives. So, you know, they'll have to step it up soon. But, you know, I think we got some big issues coming up. Debt ceiling, I think they're going to have to make a decision about whether they're really going to put the full faith and credit of the United States at risk. And also if they want to try and put Social Security and Medicare on the table. Yeah, I think the Democrats are going to reject that, and hopefully they'll, you know, address the debt ceiling. Let's get that out of the way, and then we can start having negotiations about other legislation.
All right, Maryland Representative Glenn Ivey, thank you so much, sir. Please do come back.
Thanks for having me.
And you can watch President Biden's State of the Union live right here on Scripps News. Our live coverage begins tonight at 8 Eastern, followed by the president's address and Republican response. Then we'll have in-depth analysis from our team at 11 Eastern.